I slid into the back seat of the taxi just after midnight, exhausted from a long shift at the hospital. The driver was an older man, maybe in his 60s, with tired eyes that met mine briefly in the rearview mirror. He nodded, started the engine, and we pulled away from the curb into the empty streets. I leaned my head against the window, watching the city lights blur past. Everything felt normal, until I heard the tapping. Welcome to Voices of Sister Liana. I'm here every day with a new life story to share. If you enjoy this type of content, feel free to subscribe and leave a like. Now, let's return to today's story. And in the comments, let me know, where are you listening from? At first, I thought it was just a branch, maybe something caught in the wind. But the sound was too deliberate, too rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. Right against my window. I turned my head slightly, ready to look. That's when the driver's voice cut through the silence. Sharp, urgent. Don't. I froze. What? Don't look to your left, he said again, his eyes locked on the road. And whatever you do, don't acknowledge it. My heart started pounding. Acknowledge what? He didn't answer right away. The tapping continued. Louder now. More insistent. I felt my skin prickle with fear. What's out there? I whispered. The driver's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Something that shouldn't be, he said quietly. And if you look at it, if you acknowledge it, it'll follow you. I felt my breath catch in my throat. The tapping grew faster, harder, like whatever was out there knew I was listening. This doesn't make any sense, I said, my voice shaking. We're moving. How can something be tapping on the window when we're driving? Exactly, he said. That's why you don't look. I pressed myself against the opposite side of the car, as far from the window as I could get. But the tapping didn't stop. It followed us, block after block, turn after turn, always on my left, always just outside the glass. Please, I begged. Just pull over. Let me out. I can't do that, he said firmly. If I stop, it'll get in. What do you mean it'll get in? He glanced at me in the mirror. His eyes were filled with something I couldn't quite place. Fear, yes, but also guilt. I've seen this before, he said quietly. 3 times now. 3 passengers. All of them heard the tapping. 2 of them looked. What happened to them? He didn't answer. He just shook his head. The silence was worse than any explanation he could have given. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. What about the 3rd one? I asked. The one who didn't look. She made it, he said. Barely. But she made it. How? By doing exactly what I'm telling you to do now. Don't look. Don't speak to it. Don't acknowledge it in any way. The tapping shifted. It moved from the window to the roof of the car, a slow, deliberate dragging sound, like fingernails scraping across metal. I covered my ears, squeezing my eyes shut. How much longer? I whispered. Until it gets bored, he said. Or until we cross running water. Running water? There's a bridge about 10 minutes from here. If we can make it there, it'll let go. 10 minutes felt like an eternity. The scraping continued. Then it moved again. This time to the back windshield. I could feel it. A presence, cold and wrong, and impossibly close. It's trying to make you look, the driver said. That's what it does. It plays with you, tests you, and the moment you give in, that's when it wins. Wins what? You, he said simply. My whole body was trembling now. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw open the door and run. But something in his voice, something in the certainty of his warning, kept me frozen in place. Why is this happening? I asked. I don't know, he admitted. I've been driving this route for 30 years, and it only started about 6 months ago. Always the same stretch of road, always around midnight, always with a woman, traveling alone. Have you told anyone? Who would believe me? He said with a bitter laugh. The police? My family? I sound insane even saying it out loud. But you keep driving. Someone has to, he said. If I stop, if I quit, who's going to warn the next person? The tapping stopped. For a moment, there was only the hum of the engine and the sound of my own ragged breathing. Is it gone? I whispered. No, he said. It's just waiting. And then I heard it. A voice, soft and sweet, like a child's, coming from right outside my window. Please, it said. I'm lost. Can you help me? My heart broke and froze at the same time. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to look, to help. Don't, the driver said, his voice sharp. That's not a child. How do you know? Because I've heard it before. And the woman who looked, she said it smiled at her, smiled with teeth that didn't belong in a human mouth. I clamped my hands over my ears, but the voice came through anyway, pleading, desperate, please. I'm so cold. Just look at me. Just for a second. Tears streamed down my face. I can't do this, I sobbed. Yes, you can, the driver said. We're almost there. Just hold on. The voice changed, deeper now, angry. Look at me. It wasn't a request anymore. It was a command. Look at me. I squeezed my eyes shut so tight I saw stars. And then, suddenly, I felt the car accelerate. The driver was speeding now, pushing the taxi faster than was safe. We're crossing the bridge, he said. Hold on. I felt the shift, the slight vibration as the tires moved from asphalt to the metal grating of the bridge. And just like that, the voice stopped. The tapping stopped. The cold, oppressive presence vanished. I opened my eyes slowly. The driver was watching me in the mirror. It's gone, he said. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My entire body was shaking. What? What was that? I don't know, he said honestly. But I'm glad you didn't look. We drove in silence for a few more minutes. When we finally pulled up to my apartment building, I couldn't get out of the car fast enough. I handed him the fare with trembling hands. Thank you, I said. You saved my life. He nodded. Just do me a favor, he said. Don't take a taxi alone at night on that route again. Not if you can help it. I promised I wouldn't. I watched him drive away, his taillights disappearing into the darkness. And I stood there on the sidewalk for a long time, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I never took that road again, never rode in a taxi alone at night, and I never, ever looked to my left when I heard something I couldn't explain, because some things, once you acknowledge them, never truly let you go. I spent the next few days trying to convince myself it had been my imagination. Stress from work, lack of sleep. Maybe I'd even dozed off and dreamed the whole thing. But deep down, I knew better. I could still hear that voice, still feel that cold presence just outside the glass. I found myself jumping at shadows, flinching at every unexpected sound. My coworkers noticed. You okay? Sarah asked one afternoon during our break. You seem off, I wanted to tell her, wanted to share the burden of what I'd experienced. But the driver's words echoed in my mind. Who would believe me? Just tired, I said with a forced smile. She didn't look convinced, but she let it go. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every moment of that ride. The tapping, the voice, the driver's warning. And then I started thinking about what he'd said. 3 passengers. 2 of them looked. What happened to them? I had to know. The next day, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I went back to that taxi company. The dispatcher was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a tired smile. Can I help you? I'm looking for a driver, I said. Older man, maybe 60s, drives the midnight shift. She nodded slowly. That'd be Marcus. He's been with us for decades. Is there a problem? No, I said quickly. The opposite, actually. He He helped me the other night. I wanted to thank him properly. Her expression softened. That sounds like Marcus. He's one of the good ones. Is he working tonight? She checked her schedule. He's off this week, actually. Personal time. But I can pass along a message if you'd like. I hesitated. Actually, this might sound strange, but has anyone else mentioned anything unusual about rides on that route? The one that crosses the river? Her smile faded. What kind of unusual? I chose my words carefully. Just strange experiences. Late at night. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned forward, lowering her voice. You heard it, didn't you? My blood ran cold. You know about it? She nodded slowly. Marcus told me. A few months ago. I thought he was losing it at first. But then one of our other drivers reported something similar. And then a passenger called to complain about harassment from a driver who wouldn't let her look out the window. What happened to that passenger? Her face went pale. She insisted on filing a complaint. Marcus tried to explain, tried to warn her, but she wouldn't listen. She said she was going to prove he was crazy, so she took that same route again the next night, with a different driver, and she looked. The way she said it made my stomach drop. She called me the next morning, the dispatcher continued, crying, hysterical. Said something had followed her home, that she could hear it in her apartment, scratching at her door, whispering through the walls. What did you do? I told her to call the police, to get help. But she never did. Why not? Because 3 days later, she was gone. I felt the room spin. Gone? What do you mean gone? Disappeared. Completely. Her apartment was empty. No signs of a struggle. No note. Just gone. I gripped the edge of the counter to steady myself. And the other one? The other person who looked? She shook her head. I don't know the details. Marcus doesn't like to talk about it. But I know it was bad. Really bad. I left the taxi office with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. I'd made the right choice by not looking. That night, I tried to go about my normal routine. Dinner, shower, a few episodes of something mindless on TV. But around 11:30, I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. On my window. I froze. My apartment was on the 4th floor. There was no tree outside. No rational explanation. Tap, tap, tap. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. Dialed the taxi company. Please, I said when the dispatcher answered. I need Marcus. I need to talk to him. He's not on duty. I don't care. Give me his number. It's an emergency. There was a pause. Then she gave it to me. I called him immediately. He answered on the 3rd ring. Hello? It's me. The passenger from last week. The one who didn't look. Silence. Then quietly. It followed you home, didn't it? Yes. Have you looked? No. But it's here. Right outside my window. What do I do? He was quiet for a moment. You need to leave. Right now. Don't pack. Don't gather anything. Just get out of your apartment and go somewhere with other people. Somewhere bright. Somewhere loud. For how long? Until morning. It can't hold on once the sun comes up. And then what? This just keeps happening? I don't know, he admitted. But I know someone who might. Meet me tomorrow. There's a church on 5th and Maple. Noon. Can you do that? Yes. Good. And listen to me very carefully. Do not, under any circumstances, look at it tonight. Not even for a second. Do you understand? I understand. I hung up. The tapping had stopped, but I didn't trust the silence. I grabbed my keys and left my apartment without looking back. I spent that night in a 24-hour diner, surrounded by late-night truckers and insomniacs. The fluorescent lights were harsh and unflattering, but they felt safe. When morning finally came, I went straight to the church. Marcus was already there, standing near the entrance. He looked even more tired than before. Thank you for coming, I said. He nodded toward the door. Come on. There's someone you need to meet. Inside, the church was quiet and cool. We walked past rows of empty pews toward a small office in the back. Marcus knocked. Come in, a woman's voice called. We entered to find an elderly woman sitting behind a desk cluttered with old books and papers. She looked up, her sharp eyes assessing me immediately. You're the one Marcus called about. Yes. Sit. I did. Marcus remained standing by the door. Tell me what you experienced, she said. So I did. I told her everything. The tapping, the voice, the warning, the thing following me home. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. You're lucky, she said simply. Most people don't survive their first encounter. What is it? We don't have a name for it. Not really, but it's been around for a long time. Longer than this city. It feeds on attention, on acknowledgement. The moment you look at it, you give it power. You give it permission to exist in your world. How do I make it stop? You can't, she said bluntly. Once it's noticed you, it doesn't forget. But you can starve it, ignore it completely. No matter what it does, no matter how convincing it sounds, you must never acknowledge it again. For how long? Until it moves on to someone else. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. So I just wait while it torments someone else? Yes, I shook my head. That's not good enough. There has to be another way. She studied me for a long moment. There is one thing, she said slowly, but it's dangerous. I don't care. You will, she said, because it requires you to do the one thing I just told you never to do. Look at it? Yes, but not just look. Confront it, directly. Force it to acknowledge you as something more than prey. How? By showing it you're not afraid, I laughed. It came out bitter and shaky. But I am afraid. I know, she said. That's why it's dangerous. Marcus spoke up from behind me. Don't do this. Please. I've seen what happens. I have to, I interrupted. I can't live like this. Always looking over my shoulder, always waiting for it to come back. The old woman nodded. Then tonight, midnight, go back to that stretch of road where it first found you. Walk it, alone. And when it comes, face it. I left the church with a plan that terrified me, but also, strangely, gave me hope. The day dragged on. I tried to distract myself, tried to prepare mentally for what I was about to do, but mostly, I just felt numb. When evening came, I took the bus to that part of town, the same route where the driver had saved my life. I got off a few blocks before the bridge, and I started walking. The street was empty, silent except for the distant hum of traffic and the occasional dog barking. I checked my watch. 11:58. 2 more minutes. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. And then, at exactly midnight, I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. But this time, there was no car window between us. This time, the sound came from the pavement, right behind me. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I didn't. I stopped walking, took a deep breath, and I turned around. For the first time, I looked. What I saw made my blood freeze. It wasn't a person. It wasn't an animal. It was something in between, tall and impossibly thin, with limbs that bent at wrong angles. Its face was pale and smooth, almost featureless, except for the eyes. Oh God, the eyes. They were too large, too dark, and they were fixed on me with an intensity that made me want to disappear. But I didn't look away. I see you, I said, my voice shaking but steady. It tilted its head, curious. I see you, I repeated. And I'm not afraid of you. That was a lie. I was terrified. But I said it anyway. The thing moved closer. Each step was silent, unnatural. It stopped just a few feet away. And then it smiled, not with warmth or humor, but with something hungry. You looked, it whispered. Its voice was like static and wind and broken glass all at once. Yes, I said. I looked. And now you're going to leave me alone. Why would I do that? Because I'm not prey, I said, forcing steel into my voice. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. I'm standing right here, looking you in the eye, and I'm telling you to go. It laughed. The sound was worse than the voice. You think that's how this works? Yes. You're wrong. It reached out one long, thin hand toward my face. I flinched, but I didn't step back. You already gave me permission, it said softly. The moment you acknowledged me, the moment you looked, my heart sank. Had I made a mistake? Had the old woman been wrong? But then I remembered something she'd said. Show it you're more than prey. I'm not afraid of you, I said again, louder this time. And as I said it, I realized something. It was still partially true. Yes, I was terrified, but I was also angry. Angry at this thing for invading my life, for making me feel helpless, for hunting people like we were nothing. You don't belong here, I said. This isn't your world, and I'm done letting you act like it is. The thing's smile faded. Brave words. They're the truth. We stood there for what felt like an eternity, just staring at each other, and then, slowly, it stepped back. You're different, it said finally. Yes, most people break. I'm not most people. It tilted its head again, studying me like I was a puzzle it couldn't solve. You'll see me again, it said. Maybe, but I won't run. Another pause. Then it turned, and it walked away. Not quickly, not dramatically, just away, into the shadows, until I couldn't see it anymore. I stood there for a long time after it was gone. My legs were shaking so badly I thought I might collapse. But I'd done it. I'd faced it. And I was still here. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. Maybe I will. Maybe confronting it only bought me time. But I do know one thing. I'm not the same person I was before that taxi ride. I'm stronger, braver, and I refuse to let fear control my life. Because sometimes, the scariest thing you can do is look directly at what terrifies you and survive. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. I hope it reminded you that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to stand firm, even when everything inside you is screaming to run. If this story resonated with you, please leave a like and subscribe to Voices of Sister Liana for more stories like this every single day. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to face something that terrified you? What gave you the strength to do it? Your stories inspire me, and I read every single one. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and remember, you're more powerful than you think.